Hi, my name is Brandon Martinez. I am here to speak on the affirmative side that hydroelectric power is the best source to alternative energy and benefits our country as well as the economy, more than any alternative energy. Micro hydropower is one of the earliest examples of generating electricity through irrigation water. Today we are going to solve and figure out which alternative energy is the best for our country and benefits our economy. The issue that I'm here to explain is to prove that hydroelectric power does all of the above and helps our economy and benefits our country and saves us the most money compared to the other alternative energy sources. What is hydroelectric power? Hydroelectricity is a term referring to electricity generated by hydropower, the production of electrical power through the source of gravitational force of falling or flowing water. Electricity relies on water, which is clean, renewable energy source. A renewable source of energy is one that will not run out, so it keeps going and keeps repeating the process over and over. Renewable energy comes from natural sources like wind, sunlight, rain, tides, and geothermal energy. Those cannot be taken out. They always occur. The geothermal energy, that's produced from inside the earth. Non-renewable energy sources include coal, oil, and natural gas. Water is renewable because the water cycle is continuing to recycle itself. Water evaporates, forms clouds, and then rains down on the earth, and it repeats the process over and over again. That's stated from nationalgeographic.com. How does hydroelectric power save money? Hydroelectric power is very efficient and inexpensive, you can say. Modern hydro turbines can convert as much as 90% of the available energy into electricity. The best fossil fuel plants only are about 50% efficient. In the U.S., hydropower is produced for an average of 7 cents per kilowatt an hour. This is about 1/3 the cost of using fossil fuel or nuclear and 1/6 the cost of using natural gas. As long as the cost for removing the dam and slid into traps are not included, efficiency could be further increased by refurbishing hydroelectric equipment. An improvement of only 1% would supply electricity to an additional 300,000 households. That means that if they would put 1% more hydroelectric power, it'll supply a lot more houses than what it already is. Hydroelectric power benefits the environment because the pollution created by the hydroelectric energy is generated is quite minimal, so a lot of pollution ain't going into the air while it's being generated. There is some pollution involved in initially constructing the power stations, but this is for every manufacturing plant. It also does not produce radioactive water, waste, or involve the environmental impact of fuel being transported to it. It doesn't require many employees to run a hydroelectric station, which means it's mostly manually computerized. According to gs.government.com, most plants of this type are largely animated. This is one of the big advantages that has over wind and solar energy, because with wind and solar energy you have to have maintenance and hire employees to run them and maintenance them, and this keeps the cost of hydroelectricity really low. And my point is here that I strongly believe that hydroelectric power is far the best and most efficient alternative energy resource, not because I'm covering this topic, but because the statistics and the information that I have researched shows that hydroelectric power is one of the top ones and benefits our country as well as the economy. I would like to say thank you for your time for this debate. I would like to thank the judges and my opponents and the audience, so stay green.
You got 3-minute prep time?
Dude, I talk about this.
It's not within that 2-minute question.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go?
Please do pass.
So if there's like a serious storm, such as like an earthquake or like the corrosion of the reinforced steel, who's gonna fix it? Cause like how you said, there's not a lot, like they don't hire workers or anything to fix it, what's gonna happen?
Well, I think if an earthquake or anything happens, if the dam's really strong enough and the plant's sturdy, it'll hold its own. And if anything, they do have workers, but they don't have as much employees as other manufacturers do. So they either fix it, or if it's not that bad, just let it stand as long as it can.
Okay, I got a question for you. What happens to the power or like the water plants if there is a water shortage or like a drought? What happens?
Well, a lot of the power plants have storage water saved, so if that happens, they can use the storage water to feed the electricity and keep the water that's needed in the dam.
So it's just always going to be powered?
Yeah, there's always going to be water going to the electricity.
So, I read that the damming of streams upsets the delicate ecosystem balance and may cause disruptions in the life cycle of the river. So, like, I mean, yeah, you're helping energy, but how about like the fish and all that?
Well, I would think that they wouldn't put fish in the dam and turn the gates on and have all the current flowing if the fish couldn't survive in it. But most fish, some breeds of fish like to have to be in that current environment, fast current water, such as trout, and a lot of the other fish go really down into the deep waters, so that's not really moving and won't affect them that bad.
All right, I remember you said that most of the dams and water plants run on computers. So what happens if the computer crashes or fails? What do they turn to?
Well, I think once that happens, I think they actually have manually stuff that'll people go and control it when the computer's out or dysfunctional, or they have a separate computer like a laptop that they bring in and connect it to the controls and then run it like that. So where do I want my questions at now?
All right. Hello, my name is Tanner Cox, and I'm here to defend that solar energy is the strongest alternative energy we have available. Solar energy saves our environment as well as our wallets. Solar energy should always be the #1 type of source because the sun is always there and it's not leaving anytime soon. A quote I found by Nida Harris says, "The sun, without the sun, our world cannot exist. It gives off heat and light to support all living things." All right, well, I'm here, my 3 contentions of why solar energy is the best, because there are many advantages. It saves money and it's good for the environment. One way it saves our money, according to the article I read called Solar Saves Money, the average household size saves from anywhere from $200 to $350 a month, which could add up very quick, you know what I mean? And the amount of money it saves a year is anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000. Many big schools and big corporations are turning to solar panels because it saves them an average of $15,000 a year just by using the sun. Because a lot of these big corporations and schools, they use lots of electricity, and by turning to these solar panels, it reduces their bill from saves them about $15,000 a year. The sun is also free and it shines all the time, so why wouldn't we want to use it more often? All right, it is also good for our environment. Solar power consists of no pollution at all, according to cleanenergy.org. Everyone is so worried about global warming due to pollution. If people would change to solar, we wouldn't have to be so concerned about global warming. Global warming is a big issue nowadays. The advantages of solar energy. One advantage, according to alternativepower.org, solar energy is a complete renewable source. This means that even when we cannot make use of the sun's power because of night or cloudy or stormy days, we can always rely on the sun showing up the very next day as a constant and consistent power source. Very little maintenance is required to keep solar cells running. There are no moving parts in a solar cell, which makes it impossible to really hurt them. Solar cells tend to last a long time with only an annual cleaning to worry about. You only have to worry about cleaning them maybe once every year or once every other year. The state government also promotes solar by providing tax credits and rebates, which means they will lower your taxes and give you more money here just by using solar panels and solar. Most systems have a lifespan of 30 to 40 years. That's just a good estimate they're saying, because solar panels haven't been around that long. They're just starting to pick up and starting to use them more because it saves money and it's good. I don't know, why wouldn't you want to use solar panels? I think they're cool. But I am truly a strong believer in solar power. There are so many advantages of solar energy. I don't know why everyone just doesn't start using it. The sun has been around for billions of years. We should use it more than we do. Solar power absolutely has many advantages. It also saves people money and as well as our environment. Which this comes back to my quote by Nida Harris, the sun. Without the sun, our world could not exist. It gives off heat and light to support all living things.
So now we're gonna do a 3-minute pep talk.
That's if it's needed. We don't have to. It's needed. What do I write the question right here?
So now we're gonna do the 3-minute question. Alright, so, what I read from, SolarWorks is that, the solar panels, they use extra energy, like extra electricity because the sun doesn't shine at night. But,
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to use some energy, but it reduces it a lot more than, like, solar panels, they're like built in like squares, and they're like put on roofs or like on the outside of the premises, like the buildings. And yeah, of course, they're gonna need energy to run at night, but instead of running it 24/7, you could reduce that to 12, which is saving tons of money. And a lot of people do not run as much electricity at night as they do in the day, because the lights, TVs, everything is cut down at night too.
You stated that solar energy is very inexpensive, it saves money, but according to what I read, how long is it gonna take to get back by the time you hire people, the maintenance, the installation, the size of the raise that you need? How long is it gonna take you to get back to, say you put $150,000 into that, how many years is it gonna take you to get past and break at least more even than what you already got into it?
Well, it doesn't cost anywhere near 150,000. It costs anywhere from 100, or not 100, anywhere from 40,000 to $50,000 to install. But after probably 10 years, then you will be making a profit off of solar panels, just not losing money.
And what if
And they usually last for 40 years, which is saving you tons of money after the first 10 years.
what if they need maintenance, what if they go out or
Maintenance,
they
well,
break or?
they hardly even need maintenance, because I don't know why they don't need them, but that's what I've read throughout my research. On clean, you can go to the website, it's cleanenergy.org.
alright, so, solar energy is really healthy for the environment. I read from Solar Energy Facts that installing these panels use a lot of fossil fuel. Also more than most electricity uses.
Well, according to gogreen.gov, it says it is pollution-free and it does not it does not shoot out pollution throughout the earth. So I think your information is kind of false, or
Alright, I'm saying back to what Cody said, your solar energy panels may not put out pollution while they're sitting out in the sun, but making them uses a lot of stuff that's just wasteful for the environment. Like he said, the fossil fuels and more electronics, and there are a waste of metals presenting disposable problems, and they use very expensive metals to make like chromium and mercury. And how could you even power them? And like so-called blackouts are supposed to happen. What will happen if a blackout happened? How would people get electricity with them?
a blackout.
Yeah.
Blackout is usually from electricity power lines that get damaged. They don't use power lines. It produces the energy from the sun, which are you talking about like at nighttime?
No, like if a blackout happened in the world and the sun wouldn't be out, it'd be pitch black. How would you
Oh,
run
that, I thought you meant like the city went blacked out, like, no, leaves. So if like the sun went out?
Yeah, if a blackout happened, it stayed pitch black for a few months, how would people get electricity? They'll be spending more money to run the electricity in their house. Well, there wouldn't be no electricity, so how would they?
Well, then I guess they're gonna have to turn back to going back to electricity, but even if the sun's not out for 2 months, whatever, then we probably won't be living very long.
Alright, that's the end of our question.
I had some good facts for you at that.
Hello, my name is Cody Bensley, and I am here today to prove why wind energy is a better renewable energy source than hydro energy and solar energy. There's a lot of talk about why alternative energy is bad and that is useless in our time. What if our oil sources get dried out and we aren't able to use them? We have to rely on other sources just in case an emergency like that happens. Be it resolved that wind energy is the best and reliable energy source out there. So I got this quote from John Burroughs. The fuel in the earth will be exhausted in 1,000 more years and its mineral wealth. But man will find substitutes for these in the winds, the waves, the sun's heat, and so forth. Wind energy is an alternative energy source that is a big windmill turbine. Energy is made through wind that spins the turbine, and the more wind there is, the more energy is produced. So my three contentions are the cost to install a wind turbine, but it pays for itself and is money in your pocket. Wind turbines produce a lot of energy a year, and with the tremendous growth in wind energy in the past decade, turbines often have been planted in or near cropland, leading both farmers and researchers to wonder what effect the rotating blades might have on corn, soy, and other crops. So with my first contention, most of the commercial scale turbines installed today are 2 megawatts in size and cost roughly $3 to $4 million to install. Wind turbines have significant economies of scale. Smaller farm or residential scale turbines cost less overall, but are more expensive per kilowatt of energy producing capacity. Wind turbines under 100 kilowatts cost roughly $3,000 to $8,000 per kilowatt of capacity. A 10 kilowatt machine the size need to power a large home might have an installed cost of $50,000 to $80,000 or more, depending on the tower type, height, and the cost of installation. Oftentimes, there are tax and other incentives that can dramatically reduce the cost of a wind project. With my second contention, one of my facts is 1.8 megawatt wind turbine at a reasonable site would produce over 4,700,000 kilowatts of electricity each year, enough to meet the annual needs of over 1,000 households. The average household in the UK with 2 parents and 2 children uses approximately 5,500 kilowatts of energy per year, and that's from the Strathclyde University statistic. One person's experience is that 8 1.2 kilowatt generators in the Michigan harbor that I was involved with are able to produce about 2 kilowatts a day, almost enough to power a single family home for an hour, and the cost is about $1,000. Another interesting point with wind systems is that the fossil fuel plants normally run on standby to support the wind fluctuations that occur. So not only do we see only 8 to 10% of the rated power output, but this is offset by the fossil fuel consumed and not delivered to the grid. And with my last point about helping the farmers and all that, in traditional agriculture, in many places, farmers grow trees along the edges of fields, a technique that slows the wind and stirs up the air, benefiting the crops in the field. Now, researchers are studying whether wind turbines can have a similar effect, actually helping the crops to grow. One of the more obvious ways that wind turbines could help agriculture is by mixing up the air, getting more carbon dioxide or CO2 to the crops, since the job of corn is to take up as much CO2 as it can, said Eugene Tackle, an agriculture meteorologist at Iowa State University. And another potential beneficial impact, because turbines mix up in the air in slow wind speeds, they could also affect the temperature around them, making nights warmer and days cooler. Both these effects could help crops, making frosty nights less common and reducing the number of sweltering days that stress plants. So in conclusion, wind turbines help out the economy, the money in our pockets, and also the farmers who are farming the food we eat. Wind turbines help us out a lot, way more than hydro and solar energy. Thank you for your time.
Let's just go straight to the questions right away, because we're running out of time.
Okay. We're gonna do our questions.
All right, how does wind energy benefit our country? Like you stated, it helps the farmers the most. So how is it benefiting us when it's for the farmers?
Well, I mean, because, I mean, sometimes you really can't rely on all the wind and all that. Like the farmers can, and the way that they build them, or the way that they set them up, it produces like more CO2 for corn and all that. And I mean, most of the food that we eat is produced from, farmers. I mean, don't want to starve, do you?
But a lot of the other foods come from manufactories.
We'll let them do that. It's, I don't know. I'll pass on that question.
Okay, according to gogreen.gov, windmills kill thousands of birds a year. How is that benefiting our environment?
Well, I mean, you really can't help like the death of animals and all that. I mean, if they fly into a windmill, I mean, that's their fault, I mean, it's big. I mean, you can see it. Next question, let's go.
All right. According to Go Green as well as Tanner, wind turbines and wind energy was abandoned over about 75 years ago. So if it was abandoned, it really mean it wasn't helping us that much. So what do you think it is helping us now?
Well, I think it wasn't. Well, I think it was banned a long time ago, is because a lot of people didn't really rely on energy, and back then is like electricity as much as we do now. Yeah.
You said it helps crops. Why do you see the windmills in open pastures with no crops on the land or around it? Like out by Springfield and stuff, you see all those windmills with nothing around it.
I think it's because it's building like more. I mean, it's like maybe getting more energy and all that, like from like the spin up and all that. Maybe I don't know, houses are like kind of connected to it. I mean, like it might just be an open where nothing's there, but I mean, something must be getting energy from it.
I got one more for you.
All right.
If you drive out by going towards Alamosa, there's about 7 big wind turbines out there. What are they doing out there? There's no houses around them, powering nothing. I think it'd be a good place to put a hydro dam. Power the houses about 60 to 70 miles away from them.
I don't know. You stumped me. I'm gonna pass on that question.
Well, that was a good discussion, boys.
Thank you. Good job.